Hello and welcome to Amanda's Trying, where sometimes all we can do is try and get through a day, and that's okay. Today, I am here to make a video because I have finally completed my TMJ treatment. It's done. I did it, guys. I'm trying really hard, I promise. But all that I could do today was cuddle my dog and cry. Okay, so I already created a video detailing what splint therapy looks like and the treatment process a few years ago when I thought that I was kind of in the middle / towards the end of my treatment. So if you want the details or you're not really sure what I'm talking about when I say splint therapy, go there because I explain everything in detail. Today is just going to be much more of like an overview of it, but if you've been following me, then you know that my TMJ treatment with this specific clinic started 5 years ago, and they told me it was going to be 6 months. That obviously did not happen, but yes, I had multiple different stages of this treatment. I started with having splints in my mouth to move my jaw in the correct position, to reduce the clicking, the jaw pain, and to stop the jaw locking from happening. And immediately after I got the splint, I never had my jaw lock again. So in the 5 years that I've been in treatment, my jaw hasn't locked ever. And so that's obviously the biggest concern when you are experiencing TMJ. Jaw locking is the most severe and the biggest flag that you have a serious TMJ issue. And so if you can get your jaw to stop locking, that means it's incredible. Like, that's the goal. So I did splints, and then because my jaw had to move, the splints were so thick and my jaw position had to move so extremely, then we had to do build-ups and Invisalign plus braces and then Invisalign again to move my teeth to keep my jaw in the position that the splints originally had. Again, I explain all of this in detail in my first video. And in that video, I'm wearing the build-up, so you get a lot more visuals of what the process was like throughout the whole thing. So yes, the process, it did feel long, it did feel drawn out, but at the same time, I always felt very confident and comfortable in the clinic and in the process of the treatment. So a lot of people, when they saw that my treatment was taking so long, there were some skeptical responses of like, is this all a scam? But I was confident that it wasn't, partly because of the way that you do the payment at the clinic. Obviously it's a specialist, which means it's not covered. I was paying out of pocket. My parents were generous enough to help me, especially at the beginning of my treatment. The way that they do it is you start off with your splint therapy, and there's a baseline cost. And so you pay that cost up front, and then regardless of how long it takes, how many splints they have to do, how many adjustments they have to do, how many tests they have to do, all of that is covered, and it doesn't matter. So for me, being a very complex case that was taking a long time, it was very, very helpful that I didn't have to worry about, oh my goodness, like it got extended, my treatment got extended, oh I have to make another splint. None of that was any extra cost to me. I paid the baseline cost, and that was all that I was going to have to pay as my splint treatment went through the whole process. Then the secondary part, which is the orthodontic treatment, that is a secondary cost because not everybody has to have orthodontic treatment. If your splint is small enough and your jaw doesn't have to move in such an extreme way, you don't have to have the build-ups and the ortho along with the splint therapy. And so some people, they just do the splint therapy and they're good and they're fixed. For me, obviously, that was not the case. And so I did have to pay another base fee. And this was for 3 years of orthodontic treatment. And so again, regardless of how many times I switched, because I did start in Invisalign and then they found out, oh, my teeth are not moving the way they need to be, braces are going to be more effective. So then I got my Invisalign taken off, and then I went and I got braces on my back teeth, and then we did that, and then I finished the braces, and I was like, well, my teeth don't really align because I didn't have any braces on my front teeth, and so my front teeth had shifted a lot and they were out of line with my back teeth that had the braces on them, and I was like, I'm not okay with that. I've just gone through 4 years of oral treatment and I'm not gonna be walking out of here without a perfect bite. And so I said, put the Invisalign back on, we're making this perfect, no cost to me because it was still within the 3-year coverage from that baseline payment. So I was very confident the clinic wasn't doing this to get more money out of me, because as complicated and as elongated as this treatment was, there was never any extra cost to me. I do have to say I'm kind of happy with the timing in my life with the way that this treatment kind of aligned, just because I know if it was a few years ago, I would have finished my braces and they would have said, okay, your treatment is like technically done, and I would have looked at my teeth and I would have looked at my bite and I would have been unhappy, but I wouldn't want to be difficult, so I wouldn't have said anything. And because it happened this year and I have changed a lot, I've grown a lot, and I've learned to advocate for myself, because health professionals are there to help you. That is the priority. You're allowed to ask for more. It doesn't matter if they think you're annoying, it's literally their job to be treating you. And so I was quite insistent that like, we're gonna put Invisalign back on and we're going to perfect this bite, because I've spent 5 years doing this. And I'm not going away with a mouth that I'm not happy with. And so I'm really proud of myself for advocating, even though they didn't quite understand why I was so insistent. It doesn't matter if they understand or not. They did it, and they were always very professional, very lovely. I felt like, oh, this is a growth moment. I'm very proud of myself for advocating for this aspect of my treatment. So once I was officially done and I was officially happy with the final results, they sent me off with aligners that I'm still wearing. They're essentially basically like what you would wear with Invisalign, but I don't have any of the attachments on my teeth. Essentially, I have to wear these aligners 24/7, except for when I'm eating, for 6 months. The reason is they've stopped doing the wire aligners that they glue on the back of your teeth. If any of you guys have had braces, you probably know what I'm talking about, but I guess those have been found to be really ineffective. They fall off a lot or get misaligned, I don't know, so it's just not worth doing anymore. So now I have these aligners that I still have to wear for a few months, as much as possible, and then I'm still supposed to wear them 6 months after that for like 18 hours of the day. And at night I have a night appliance that I'm supposed to wear for the rest of my life. I'll show you what it looks like. So I have to wear, this appliance every night now for the rest of my life. I honestly am skeptical that this is going to last like long term, but this will help keep my teeth and my jaw in the correct position, and it also, these elastics are like super heavy duty, so like this is, I can't, when I'm wearing it, I can't really like open my jaw very wide. There's 2 different versions of nighttime appliances. One where most of the pressure is like on your back teeth, and then there's one that's more based in the front. And so they had me try both in the clinic and decide what was more comfortable for my jaw. And so this stops me from like clenching or doing anything that is very common with people with TMJ. A lot of times you wake up and your jaw just like feels awful after a night of sleep, and so this is to try to eradicate that. I've only been using it for about a month, so we'll see how it lasts long term. But I do know that you can buy replacement elastics pretty easily, so if those break or whatever, it's easy to replace that. So moving forward, that's the only aspect of treatment that is like still ongoing, but it's just to maintain a healthy jaw. So final thoughts as I wrap up my TMJ treatment is that I am really happy, and I don't really have any complaints about the treatment that I received, aside from the fact that it took so long, but that wasn't anything that the clinic could control. That was my personal, my body, and my stubborn teeth that don't like to move or adjust. So other people wouldn't have the same type of timeline issues. But the main goal was that I would stop my jaw from locking, and like I said, I haven't had my jaw lock since the very first day that I started treatment. My jaw pain is minimal. I still do have clicking in my jaw. I still can't chew gum, or and I have to be careful about the way that I yawn and things like that, which are just part of living with TMJ. Because this didn't heal me, it didn't get rid of the TMJ, it just helps me manage it. But right now there is nothing that actually can cure TMJ. Even surgery, there's a lot of different opinions about surgery. Some people say it actually makes the problem worse, but it's pretty clear that it doesn't completely take away the TMJ issue either. So for me, it was successful in managing the symptoms that I wanted to be managed, and also a huge part of my goal was to avoid yet another jaw surgery. I didn't want to go through that if I didn't have to. Jaw surgery, yes, would have been a one-day ordeal and then it would have been done, but it's so invasive, and because there is risk that it won't be effective, it felt like it was not the right decision for me. And so for me, I honestly do not have any regrets about choosing splint therapy. I'm very grateful for the clinic. I'm very grateful for the final result. And I would recommend that anybody do research and really seriously consider it if you have TMJ issues. Don't feel like surgery is the only option. It's one of the only options, but it's not the only option, so keep that in mind. And to finish off the video, as always, is a song recommendation. This video, I am choosing to recommend Strong Ones by Destiny Rogers. Destiny Rogers, I really like her songwriting style. It's very grounded. She always feels like a very real person in the way that she expresses herself, and these lyrics I personally could relate to a lot. Maybe it's me being the eldest daughter, but especially before I got injured, I really felt like I was seen as a strong person people came to, people relied on, people expected me to hold myself together so that I could then help and support everybody else around me. But obviously, and I think I also saw myself in that way. I saw myself as a strong one, and so it was really difficult for me to accept the fact that I needed so much support once I started dealing with chronic pain and became debilitated, to no longer live up to the expectation of being the strong one. It really was hard for me to accept, and I felt very weak and I felt really pathetic. And Destiny Rogers talks about just the fact that even the people that you view as strong ones, like a lot of the times they're struggling just as much or more than other people, they're just not expressing it. So I think if you are somebody who identifies as a strong one, it's important to realize that there's nobody who's invincible, there's nobody that doesn't need any help, and it doesn't make you any less strong to show your weaknesses, to ask for support. And I think also, alternatively, if there's somebody in your life that you feel you really rely on and you feel like they always have things together, that they never are struggling. Remember that everybody does struggle, and to check in with them and make sure that even the strong ones are being supported. There's no shame in being weak, and we don't need to be harsh on ourselves just because we need support and need to ask for help. Being a strong one is honestly overrated, so let's all just be weak together. Okay. I don't know where that went, but I'll see you guys next time.
You say that you know me, but what do you know? And I hear you,